Okay.
This week's Parsha, well, I'm giving you a hint by the way I dressed. VAYAISHEV, the coat of many colors, or the sweatshirt of many colors. And what was it all about? It was about the love. The love that Yaakov had for his son, his favorite son, Yosef. But not always a good idea to point out the son you love, your most beloved, because it caused jealousy. The word VAYAYSHEV, Yaakov, he wanted peace and tranquility. Finally, he thought he had had enough with his brother Esav, then with Lavan. Wasn't it time for him to get a good rest? It says, when Risha'im sleep, it's good for them, it's good for everyone. When a tzaddik sleeps, not good for them, not good for everyone. Because they are the ones who, by facing challenges, by growing through those challenges, by taking challenge and turn it into opportunity, we learn from them. They are our role models, and they make the world a better place. It said that in the Holocaust, Viktor Frankl said, if you know what you're living for, if life has meaning, you could go through anything. When we have challenges, if we look at them as a way to grow, as an opportunity, then we can go through it because there's a purpose. What we want to live is a purposeful life. But of course, the brothers may not have been looking at this way. What happens? They're jealous because not only is he the most beloved and has this magnificent, colorful coat, but they made a show on Broadway. I mean, how do you think you'd feel if they made a show on Broadway about one of you, even if the rest of you were in it and did not have a starring role? But they were jealous, but they were also it's called Joseph the Dreamer. He had these dreams, and it says, a nice thing I read, don't let your dreams or aspirations have an expiration date. That means never stop dreaming, never stop hoping, never stop aspiring to be more, to do more. You're never too old, it's never too late, you can always start again. But in this case, he says he seemed to be superior to them, first with sheaves that bowed down to him, then with the star and the moon and the sun bowing down to him. And they were not so happy about it. And they weren't so far off because they figured Abraham had 2 sons and one wasn't good. Yitzchak had 2 sons and one wasn't good. So perhaps he's the, quote, not good son. What is going on? But his father keeps it to himself, Yaakov, and he sends his son, Yosef, who really was his progenitor. He was going to carry on. I read a beautiful thing, I'll come to it, but Yosef was the son. He looked like Yaakov. He taught him all his Torah. He was the one he was counting on to bring the Mashiach, as we will ultimately see in the upcoming Parshas. These 3 Parshas are like a roller coaster, stay tuned. They have these shows that have like this, and they have a cliffhanger. I'm not going there, but that's what we're up for. So in this, of the first of the 3 chapters about Yosef, it said that when Yosef was named, she said, Yosef li ben acher, that God should add an additional son, ben acher. But it also means the acher could mean an outsider, a stranger, someone who is estranged from Judaism. We have to take the estranged people, the achers, and make them into a ben, a child of God. And I thought that was a beautiful concept. And it says that Yosef goes, and then his brothers throw him in a pit, and Reuven saves him, and then Yehuda ultimately, and then he's taken to Potiphar's house, and at Potiphar's house, the wife tries to seduce him, and he resists. And from there on, he is called Yosef HaTzadik, from that event, because there were other people in our Torah, in the Tanakh, who did sin and did tshuva. Yehuda, David, but Yosef is HaTzadik because he did not give in to sin at all. And they said one of the things that stopped him was seeing the image of his father Yaakov. And they said he saw Yaakov. Yaakov represents Emes. But yesterday we heard a shir that said that not only did he see the image of his father, and it said the image just didn't appear, he had to choose to see the image. Sometimes you think of something good and you just push it aside. No, I don't want to think about that because maybe it'll stop me from doing what I want. He purposely chose to see the image of Yaakov. So that was already a good choice. And he also saw the image of his mother. I love that because Rachel is very important. The mother is very important. So he saw the image, and what did Rachel represent? Shalom. His father represented Emes, Rachel represented Shalom. And together, Aleph from Emes and Shin from Shalom is Eish. They say Yaakov Eish. Yaakov will be the Eish, the fire, and Yosef Lahava, he will be the spark that sets Esav, the Kash, the straw, on fire. So it says you need you need not only emes, but you need shalom. In other words, sometimes something is right, in black and white it's right, but we have to use a little bit of seichel, we have to use a little bit of chesed or rachamim, as she did with her sister Leah when she gave her the signals and the signs in order to marry Yaakov. So I like that idea that we have to keep these people in our mind. Sometimes you think of doing something, you say, what will my principal think? What will my mother think? What will my father think? What will my friends think? We have to have in our mind people who we look up to and who we respect, who speak to us in our head and tell us the right thing. And eventually he ends up in prison because, the wife tells, and it's interesting, they need a smart lawyer then, because when they find him, they find her clothes in his hand, but not the front of his jacket, the back of his clothes, which means obviously that he was running away and that she tried to pull him back. But of course, they wanted to save her the embarrassment, so they didn't get a good lawyer like I would have been for them. But anyway, it turns out that he ends up in prison, and there's the butler and the baker. He's there quite a few years, and the butler and the baker. And they said, what's going on here? Here is Yosef. He's in prison. He could be depressed. He could be downtrodden. He could be involved with his own problems. But instead, what does he do? He sees that they're not feeling exactly right. They don't look like something is right with them. And he talks to them, and he cares. And this is a trait of Yosef and all Jewish people. We have to look, even when you're in your own sort of sorrow or your own depression, the best way to do is to reach out, keep busy and do good. And he therefore asks them what's going on, and they say, one of them says, well, I saw, these leaves and the wine, and I squeezed it with my hands, and I put it and I put it into the goblet of the king, and I handed it to him. And the other one, he says, your dream is going to be good. In 3 days, you're going to be out here. The other one says, there was a basket on my head. Birds came, they started eating, and that was it. And they said, what's the difference between these two dreams? It says because the butler, the wine butler, was involved. He took the grapes, he squeezed them, he put them in. He made an effort. He was involved. In the other one, everything was passive. We have to be active in our own life, make a difference. And in both cases, Yosef says, when he's interpreting the dream for them, he says, God told me, God gave me the answer according to God. He uses the word God, but he uses it more when he's talking about the second one, because he says, the butler, he still said, my hands, my this, my that. He's saying that we have to acknowledge that it's not my hands, it's not my will, not my power. It's always God. In the second dream, when he interprets it, he only says God, because he realizes that it's only God. And later on, we'll see how he was always connected with Hashem. Yosef is always connected with Hashem, and that was the secret of how he maintained his happiness, how he maintained his equilibrium, how he maintained the ability to see others even in the worst situation, how he kept talking about God. The only way in this world to go through challenges, to go through sorrow, is to know that Hashem is in the picture, that Hashem is running it, is controlling it. And it says even more than that, if we understand that Hashem is doing it, even though the world looks chaotic and we don't know what's going on like this, in retrospect, we may be blessed, like Yaakov, to understand what's going on, but at the time we don't. But if we know that Hashem is in the picture, that it's Hashem who's pulling the strings, or in a nice way, Hashem is watching over us, like the mother who's standing watching the child cross the street. The child looks back and waves. So the child is still doing it, but they know the whole time the mother is there. And even if you don't know it, you have to believe that someone's watching you. When we feel that Hashem is in our life, like Yosef, we could be happy. We could think of other people. We could not just get caught in our own, but look at others. We could take the initiative, we could act, and we know that even if it's not so tranquil in this world, and every day is challenges, it's an opportunity to be better, grow better, and Mirz Hashem to bring the Mashiach very soon.
Can I make two announcements? Very quickly. This coat.
You shut it?